Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. And we're talking about boundaries because yesterday we talked about how connection establishes everything. You know, whether it's an electric cord into the wall so that we can get a connection to our lamp and turn the light on, or it's a connection that we have with a person, either to or with. It's important. We understand that about connection. We understand how connection really does light us up, and I believe it affirms our humanness and it affirms our worthiness to each other. It's really a beautiful thing. So, but we also need to be looking at how this connection creates the vibrant life that we want to lead. We understand that, but without boundaries, that connection is nothing. You can't have a connection with somebody who's going to run you over all the time, right? You can't have a connection with somebody who is going to be taking advantage of you on the regular, or expects that you're always going to volunteer or always going to do something. And it's not their fault. You know, we have to bring back to personal responsibility and take a look about what boundaries are and how to correct the ones that are out of date and how to make sure that we keep our boundaries in place. You know, we learn boundaries early on, don't we? I did. I learned them early on. I learned that pulling the tail on a cat, by the way, was a bad idea as a child, as I got my hand mauled and bitten and scratched. I learned how also that touching a hot stove would burn me. Literally learned that one as a kid. We learn these things by doing, and we put a boundary up for ourselves, self-imposed boundaries. Don't pull the cat's tail, and do not touch a hot stove. You will get burned. We learn those things. And then we also learn boundaries that our parents put on us that are, sometimes they're good. Boundaries like use your manners. Boundaries like kiss Uncle Frank even though he gives you the creeps. And then we learn that we have to do that or whatever. And later on we can, correct those kind of things that we didn't necessarily want to do. But we learn all these boundaries. Some are good, some are bad, some are outdated, some no longer serve. And we need to recorrect. We need to recalibrate, recalibrate. It's just what we have to do. So what we choose to believe is true or not dictates the boundaries that we set or we do not set. How about that? Have you noticed that? Sometimes we connect we make boundaries, and sometimes we don't make boundaries. And what it's all about, it's about what our belief system is about. And sometimes that just needs a little refinement. And what happens to us when we are brave enough to instill new boundaries into our lives, when we decide that this is the next thing that we need to do in order to create that vibrant life that we want to live? Well, great things happen. Great things happen. So, but I also want to remind you that we have boundary issues, don't we? Big time boundary issues. Is today the last day of the vibrant thing? I don't know. I'm just doing it. I'm still doing it. Okay, today's the last day. Whatever. Friday, I know I'm drinking wine. That's all I have to say. But 3 boundary boo-boos that we have is that sometimes it's too much yes. We say yes to everything because we're playing to this imaginary audience that we don't want to disappoint. We want them to always say, oh, you're so great. Don't we? I mean, that's old garbage. We've done that. I know I have. I've over-volunteered my life at the expense of everyone else in my life for this bunch of people I barely knew. Weird, right? But we do it. We over-yes. We play to an audience. We play to what everybody's expectations of us are. instead of the people who are closest to us. Crazy, but we do it. Then there's too much no. And what's that no about? Oh, no, I can't do that. No, I can't speak to that group of people. No, I can't. Fill in the blank. And it's based on a lot of fear, a lot of preconceived old beliefs about ourselves that just categorically aren't true anymore. And when we're playing out of fear, we're not playing full out. We're not. We are playing to a very itty bitty teeny tiny corner that's of our own making. And it doesn't serve at all. It doesn't lead us to a vibrant life. It squashes and squelches a vibrant life. And then there's the third thing, which I have been guilty of, and I hope to heavens, and I will, absolutely ask Amber and Jenny and Mark if it's true that you can't be such a control freak. I have noticed in my life when I give other people their autonomy and their control over the things that they're doing and not micromanage them, then I get more time back, I get more control back in the things that I can actually control. Because when we get into the micromanagement thing and we think that we need to be over everything and we think that we're bossy and right and all of this all the time, you know what happens? We take our eyes off ourselves and put our eyes on everybody else, and it's up to us to fix the world. And how well has that ever worked out for anyone? Those are the three big boo-boos that we make with boundaries. We've got to correct those. Not too much yes, not too much no. We got to go to the Goldilocks place of just right. Saying yes to the things that are absolutely brilliant, that are going to level up our lives and bring that joy to everyone around us. And saying no to the things that do not serve anymore. And not doing no out of fear, but doing no out of this is not the way it should be. This doesn't serve anyone or anything. And then allowing that this control thing, allowing people to have their autonomy, allowing them to operate out of their brilliance, and not thinking that you've got to rule the world or everything's going to be, somehow spiraling out of control and the earth is going to fall off its axis. It's just not true. It's just not true. So if we can get into that balance, we can start moving the needle on our own lives. But bad boundaries or no boundaries, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? It leads to unnecessary drama, doesn't it? Have you noticed that? Unnecessary drama, and everybody is overreacting. Everybody is out of the loop, and it puts people, maybe you or others, into this place of being helpless, being victims, because there's no boundaries. Well, I thought you were going to do this. I thought you always do. But if you've never had a boundary before, and then suddenly you have one in your head, but it hasn't been pronounced out in public and vocalized, that's why I say it's so important to always have a voice in your life and what it is that you do and what it is that you say, so that you can alert the media, man. This is what's going on. This is what Leanne will do and won't do anymore, and here you go. Game on. We got to do that. Because otherwise we're sending a written invitation to other people to run us over with their expectations, with their but you always, and all the other stuff. So remember this, that good boundaries are a gift to everyone. They're a gift to yourself. They're a gift to the people around you. They know what to expect. You know what to expect from yourself. And don't you feel, I feel like a big grown-up. I feel like a big girl when I do this. I feel like I am in charge of my life and I can take responsibility and I can step into a betterment of who I want to be. It puts me on task. It keeps me focused. This is the things that we need to do. Boundaries are important. You don't just let your dog go out and just run around and end up on the side of the road, run over, do you? You have a fence. You have a boundary. We always do. We have boundaries for our kids. We put them in playgrounds. We have boundaries for our children. We have them home at a certain time. We have boundaries at work. We have boundaries all over the place. So when we're not putting out boundaries for the people in our lives, we're going to lose it. And we're going to lose our good intentions. We're going to lose everything that we're hoping and dreaming and wanting in our lives. So here's the thing though, as you're doing this, not everyone's going to come aboard. Not everyone's going to say, oh, good for you, Leanne, for putting up those boundaries. I'm really proud of you. No, you're going to get some pushback. I promise you, you will get pushback. When you bravely operate from your best self, which means that you have boundaries, there will be pushback from the people who are used to your old version of yourself that didn't have those boundaries or very ill-defined ones. You'll get it. Expect it. But I'm going to take you through all of this, and I'm going to also give you the ways that you can get ahead of it. Because, you know, again, we're all humans, and we all have this great expectation that somehow just by having these boundaries, all is going to go well. And they lived happily ever after. Don't you wish? I do. I certainly do. I have had to put up with pushback from boundaries before, but there's ways out of it because, you know, when your knownness shifts, the expectation is that everybody else is going to do it. So, for example, let's say that you had a girlfriend that you've hung out with, and you know, you meet every Wednesday and you go for a donut and a big, you know, cappuccino sugary thing at the donut place, and suddenly you're saying, you know what, that hasn't served me. That takes all my progress down and throws it away. And you say to your girlfriend, you know, no more donuts for me. No more sugary cappuccino things. I'm going to instead, let's meet and have a cup of black coffee. And what they see is, oh my gosh, I'm losing my friend. She doesn't love me anymore. She wants me. She's now, if she's going to reject me and my cappuccino and donut, she's going to reject me all the way. And if you say to her, my time with you is the most important thing in the world, and this is why we're meeting, I'm staying away from this stuff because it has not served me anymore, and it's causing me a lot of bodily pain or whatever it is, and keeping it very short, keeping it simple, because you don't owe them an entire explanation on why you're making this shift. But you do just want to let them know that you're still there, you still love them, and you're still going to meet up with them. You're just shifting things a little bit. And then, you know, sometimes they'll get a little snarky and they'll think, you know, oh, you're showing me. You're just trying to be better than me. Oh, you think that you're superior to me. I've had that come up too. No, not at all. It's just not worked for me, so I'm changing things up. Simple, easy phrase. Doesn't work for me, I have to change these things. Talk to my doctor. He told me I needed to make some changes. Whatever. You know, one of the times, this is one of the only times that I say it is okay to push it on to somebody else. This imaginary nutritionist that you have, you could use me, this imaginary doctor or whatever. But oftentimes if you push it off and say, well, this expert told me to my face, this doesn't work anymore. I need to be listening to this, or I'm putting my health in jeopardy. It doesn't mean anything against you. Then your boundary is safe. But, you know, again, you don't have to go through, let me get out my blood test, let me prove this to you. You don't owe people that kind of an explanation. You just owe them the encouragement and the encouragement, really, that you're not going anywhere, that you still love them. You just need to change what's on your plate. That's it. And the number 3 thing is that they love your beforedness. They loved you when you scarfed with the loaded French fries at the Sonic or whatever, or wherever those what is it, Waffle House that does that. They loved you when you did all these things, and it was a treat that you did. It was something that you did before. They don't love the new you. They think that you now think you're too good for them. And you got to go back to this whole thing and just reassure them that it's you that you want, not the treat that's not this supposed treat that's on the plate. When we differentiate and say, it's all about you, it's you I love, I adore, let's do this instead, that's the thing, then they're not going to feel nearly as bad. But, you know, this is when we've got to avoid those kind of scenarios too. We got to avoid the scenario of constantly having to go back and explain ourselves and just lay it down like this is the way it needs to be for me. And there's no judgment. If you want to go and have cappuccinos and donuts and loaded fries or whatever it is, there's no judgment, and you don't make one. You leave it alone. Like when they're eating it, you don't say, wow, I wish I could have that, but I just can't. Or if they're eating that and you're looking at it and you say, well, that's going to poison you, and you start throwing down the judgments, you've just absolutely, your boundary now looks really mean and ugly. So you just pretend that that's not happening, and you just go about your whole thing of connecting with that person, just like we talked about yesterday, And right on, did you see what Jenny said? Yay for a supportive spouse. Amen. I mean, how incredible is it to have a supportive spouse? But sometimes they don't come along. And when they don't come along, that doesn't mean that you need to give up your boundary. It just means you need to put this stuff down and say to someone how much you love them. And like Sarah just said, which is absolutely brilliant, of course, the greatest gift you can give anyone is listening with your full attention. It's not about the food, it's about them, right? There's your connection there. There's your connection. That's the problem that we have, especially us food addicts. We get to the place of making it all about the food and not about the person. It's just they happen to be the person that we're, vacuuming with, getting out the Hoover and just guilty. I speak from a place of experience on this, y'all. This is not my first rodeo. I understand about food addiction. I understand about treats being all. And yeah, we miss out on that connection with our fellow humans and our loved ones and what have you, because it becomes all about the food. And when we shift those boundaries, we have to allow that person to know it's never been about that. It's always been about you. And being present with them, not on your phone, not gossiping about someone, but just what's going on in your life? How can I be a support? How can I be an encouragement? They're going to feel good about your boundary and good about you. So take responsibility for your yes as well, and your no. Because what you're doing is you're creating growth opportunities for yourself and for those people who are in your life, It's really amazing. You don't have to be defensive about it, and you don't have to put them on the defensive. You own it. Here's a big thing. When you go to somebody and you're getting, allowing them to know what your new boundary is, because when things shift, it's important to allow people to know what they can expect from us, unless it's some random person calling you up to ask you to volunteer for the 80th time. But somebody who's close in your life, yeah, you need to kind of give them a little bit of a heads up. And you let them know that I feel this way. I've seen the doctor. This is what they say. I've been to a nutritionist. This is the advice that I've had from her. And this is what I've seen in my life, and it's really made a difference. I feel better doing this. And instead of, you always make me go out with you and eat that stuff. It's your fault. You did it. You. Use the I language. I feel, I believe, and this is important for me. And shift out of the blame. When we blame someone, we don't get anywhere. We don't get anywhere. They don't hear us anymore. They don't hear us anymore. They suddenly feel like, okay, she's just backed me into a corner. Why would I want to be a part of that? I mean, do you want to be a part of that? I know that I don't. I don't want to be a part of that. So boundaries also stop us from being the savior in everybody else's life. We no longer have to sweep in and save the day. And if that's been part of your whole thing, that you sweep in and save the day, you make all the phone calls that everybody else didn't make, you're the one who is setting up and tearing down and bringing the paper goods because everybody else forgot, you create an opportunity for growth when you say no more. You do. You say, I can't do the setting up and the tearing down. I can't teach Sunday school this Sunday and every Sunday forever and ever, amen. I can't do these things, but I just want you to know I'm praying for you, and I have, I have to make these boundaries. It's just, this is how I roll. Maybe I can do that next quarter. I have a few dates. I might be available for once or twice in Q2 of 2021, but I can't do it every Sunday. Whatever it is that you need to do. These are the ways that we allow people to know what they can expect from us, and we allow people to know what we think about ourselves. We show us ourselves of worth, and not just constant doers at their disposal. It's a big deal. Boundaries give up the ability to create the habits we need. They do. They give up the ability to create the habits that we need. When we create boundaries, we give basically a yard, if you will, to grow those boundaries or to grow those habits that we want in our lives. Without them, they just disperse everywhere, and our good intentions just turn into a bunch of frustrations. So this is how we get vibrancy back. This is how we create joy and allow the trickle down of what it is that we're doing to affect other people's lives, because it will. So here's the thing that you need to remember, really important. You become a woman of integrity with your word and your doing at the same time. Who you are shows up in what you do, not what you say. And so when you're connecting those two, oh, Mark, he has no idea. Yeah, there he is. Working on the closet. But when you are connecting those two, when you're connecting what you say you want to do and then actually doing it, this link, that's the integrity chain that you're creating in your life. And then you're keeping your promises to yourself, which means you believe more in yourself. It boosts our self-confidence as well. And then you also, for little eyes especially, your children, your grandchildren, even your spouse, they see the possibilities of what could be because you're living them. You've become an example. That's why your actions are so much more imperative than what you say. That's why I always say that who you are shows up in what you do, not what you say, because that's the truth. We can all talk a good talk, but are we walking it? And the last thing is, you create staying power when you do stuff like this. When you create a boundary, you create staying power. You don't lose the dog when you have a fence. When you have the integrity of the fence around your yard, you don't lose your dog when you let him out. And you don't lose your soul when you just put down your boundaries. So, you're going to get resistance. You're going to get resistance from yourself. You're going to get resistance from other people. But if you push through and you hold fast, your boundaries are going to hold up the life that you want. They're going to give you your vibrancy back. They're going to create the vibrant life that you want to live. And not only that, you're going to be happier for it. You're going to feel like you are finally free of everyone else's expectations, of all the garbage that everybody's trying to put on you. You get to be the woman you're supposed to be. And we're all here on purpose, put here by God himself at this time for a reason. You can't find out what that purpose is about if you're too gobbled down with everybody else's expectations of you. He didn't put you here as a group. He put you here as an individual. You later got married, you later had children, you later had this community that you have. But right now, you have an obligation and responsibility, personal responsibility, to be the very best woman, the very best version of yourself. Because when we live in this vibrancy, our purpose comes crashing down all around us. We get clarity on what it is, and we get to live it. Oh, isn't that just the best? Isn't that what you want? I know this is what I want. This is what we do. Put the fence up, gals. It's time. It's time for us to live our very best life. The rest of it, we can live victoriously if we so choose, if we so desire, and if we have those boundaries around our lives the way they need to be. There you go. Damn right. Pinkies up. Ooh, there goes my potty mouth. Pinkies up, Sarah. Pinkies up to all of you. And listen, thank you again for showing up and being a part of this broadcast. Without you, it's nothing would be the same. So I appreciate you all. Noreen, pinkies up. Let's do this. Let's go out there and crush the day. Peace be with you. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.